Good day and welcome to the FirstEnergy SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe and Arch FLM at FirstEnergy conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Ivanka Benruiz. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Darren. Welcome everyone. Welcome to this reference call today on SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe and Arch FLM. We are very pleased to have our customer FirstEnergy with us, which is very great. Thank you for that. In today's session, we will give you introduction on the product itself, and also you will get some insights from the customer directly. This is a great way to share experience, to ask questions afterwards. We will have about 20 minutes for a question at the end of the sessions. I would like to welcome and thank our speakers. First, I would like to introduce our speaker from FirstEnergy, Jody Owen. Welcome, Jody, to this session, and thank you for joining. Jody is the IT technical specialist by FirstEnergy. I also would like to thank you, Chris Scott from Arch. Chris Scott is the Director of Business Development at Arch, and he's going to start the session, the presentation, with giving you some insights of the product itself. My name is Ivanka Benruiz. Welcome to the session first. I'm from the Partner Sales Organization at SAP. In our organization, we run the third-party solutions called Solution Extensions, partner products, which we sell on our price list, where SAP is the main point of contact and also main point for maintenance and direct contact to the customer. So, saying that, I would like to start the session and hand over to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivanka, and hello, everybody. So I'm going to start off with a few positioning slides and introduce the SAP eForms software. We see forms everywhere, from booking flights online, filling in tax returns, application forms, time recording. We work with many different types of form as part of our daily lives. In businesses, we often see forms for data collection in many manual process steps. Traditionally, these were paper-based, but these days we see Word or Excel forms that are sent around the organization by email and might eventually lead to manual data entry. The problem with manual processes is that they cause a variety of business pain. Data quality, such as incorrect or duplicate data, process inefficiencies due to manual rekeying, compliance issues due to processes not being followed or managed properly, usability, mobility, the list goes on. The response to this within SAP is SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe and Arch FLM. SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe is a technology that enables rendering of PDF electronic forms. Arch FLM is a form processing server that enables you to build and manage form-based processes within SAP. FLM is integrated with SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe for PDF forms and can also render HTML forms. PDF forms have the benefit of going offline. HTML forms have the benefit of reaching mobile devices. This means that they can be designed either with a traditional paper-like form interface or with a more graphical interface that makes better use of the touchscreen devices. With Arch FLM, you can mix and match different types of electronic form at each step of the process. So, for example, a form may be initiated on a desktop or laptop, and then routed to a colleague who can add more detail using a tablet device, and then sent on to a manager who could approve using a smartphone. At various points in the process, updates to SAP can be made, and the entire process is managed within the SAP system so that administrators can see the status of each form process, view each form, or reassign it. This slide shows how both online and offline form processes can be supported on different devices. Both PDF and HTML have roles to play depending upon the device and the connectivity scenario. Arch FLM supports different types of user interface by storing the business logic centrally and reusing that logic for different UI scenarios. So, for example, the same logic for pre-populating a form would be used whether the form was PDF, HTML, or even an Excel-based form. No matter what UI was used, the same logic for data validation, form routing, and SAP updating will be used. Oops. I'll not talk to this slide in detail, but this gives an overview of the types of functionality that you need to develop and shows what is included within Arch FLM. Basically, there are 3 development tasks. First, to build the form template. This is done through a form designer product. Any client-side logic is added using JavaScript. Some forms don't need any JavaScript at all, and some need a lot. It all depends upon the complexity of the requirement. The FirstEnergy forms, as we'll see, they do have quite a lot of JavaScript because the requirement there was not simple. Second, to define the SAP interface, which is just an IMG configuration table of subforms and fields. And third, to add the business logic for things like pre-population, data validation, etc., and that is achieved using simple ABAP user exits. So with traditional skills, SAP skills of IMG configuration and simple ABAP, you can build any form process, albeit that sometimes you do need a bit of JavaScript too. So in summary, Arch FLM is an SAP eForm server for any SAP system. It enables accelerated development and maintenance of eForms processes and supports multiple eForm technologies like SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe. SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe is an SAP solution extension available from SAP. Arch FLM is an SAP endorsed business solution available from Arch. And now I'd like to turn the session over to Jody Owen of FirstEnergy. Jody.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. As Ivanka said, I work for FirstEnergy, one of the nation's largest investor-owned electric systems, serving more than 6 million customers. Headquartered in Akron, Ohio, and stretching from the Ohio-Indiana border to the New Jersey shore, the FirstEnergy companies operate a vast infrastructure of more than 194,000 miles of distribution lines and are dedicated to providing customers with safe, reliable, and responsive service. FirstEnergy employs over 15,000 people, including bargaining employees who are members of 20 different unions. The Human Resources Department manually enters over 40,000 employee and organizational changes into SAP each year. While we are not a global company, we have a very complex organizational model, and recently we made a technology change away from the Lotus Notes platform, which resulted in a project I'm going to share with you today called Employee Lifecycle Management. The project we are implementing originally started in 2010 using SAP's HCM P&F product. Because our requirements are so complex and update so many HR infotypes or tables, we were unable to get it working effectively within our time frame. In 2013, the project was resurrected, but this time we spent more time up front determining what direction we should pursue before beginning development. With the help of an enterprise architect, we researched other ways to process employee changes by talking to Gartner and SAP. We also benchmarked with other companies and conducted internet searches. As a result, we requested proposals from several vendors. We completed proof of concepts using our most challenging requirements, and ultimately we selected Arch based on these differentiating factors. Proven functionality. We really like that FLM was installed right in SAP with no additional hardware requirements. It also supports both PDF and HTML technology, so we can leverage the forms on multiple devices. Ease of development. The form configuration is portable, which means the form logic and any workflow and configuration can be packaged into a transport, exported from our SAP system, emailed over to Arch for help, and then we can re-import any corrections. We also really like the monitoring and auditing capabilities. Basically, we can just display a form at any point in the process. We can look back at a form by status or date timestamp, and these requirements support what auditing needs and requires. As for the resources required to support FLM, Since it is installed right in SAP, we already had the ABAP and SAP resources to handle much of the development in-house. And finally, since ARCH specializes in updating SAP via form technology and had great customer references, we felt they were the right choice for this project. Because we are, in fact, moving away from the Lotus Notes platform, our main driver was to find a solution that would completely replace the Personnel Action Forms Lotus Notes database known as PAF. To drive process consistency, we are requiring that all employee data changes be submitted via the forms process. Before this project, there was no integration with SAP. Data was entered without much validation, often resulting in errors. There were no automated updates, workflows, or notifications of any type. This was all done manually. FLM has already increased efficiency and accuracy by enabling data integrity and workflow to keep the process moving along while reminders, escalations, and final notifications are sent to all necessary participants in the process. HR is already noticing a decrease in their workload. Our goal was to also streamline the onboarding process by integrating with the e-recruiting SAP system to automatically populate candidate information on the hire form. In addition, we can now attach all start letters and other hiring documents right to the form, eliminating manual emails. This is working great, and all hires and rehires are now processed with the FLM form, resulting in both SAP systems being in sync. We wanted to leverage Org Publisher, a tool that visually displays the organizational chart, to launch the FLM form. Because this is available to the entire company, it is a great way for an HR representative or manager to trigger an employee change like a pay raise or location change. Depending on what type of form they are using, they trigger the forms from either the personnel number, their position, or the organizational unit they report to. And finally, as with most companies, mobility is very important to our future. Our goal is to leverage mobile devices such as iPads and eventually mobile phones, especially for approvals. We developed the forms using HTML for this purpose and plan on implementing this very soon. As for our implementation strategy, we developed the following forms. Our hire-rehire form integrates to our e-recruiting system, eliminating the need to double key the information in both e-recruiting and the SAP HR module. We have a specific separation form, which is used to separate an employee for any reason, such as a retirement or a resignation. We have a transfer form, which is used when an employee is moving from one position to another within our company. The change position pay form is what we like to call our super form. It is used for updating position attributes or an employee's pay information. So whether we need to move a position from a location in Pennsylvania to a location in New Jersey, or if we want to simply process employees' pay increase, this would be the form we would use. The change location mail stop allows us to move an employee from one location to another, and this typically happens when we relocate an entire department. The create position form is used when a new position needs to be established, and the create or change organizational unit forms are used to literally create a new org unit or change an existing one. Because of our past experience, we took a conservative implementation approach. In December of last year, a small group in HR began using 4 of the most complex forms in production. Earlier this year, we implemented the remaining forms and had also expanded the usage to a select group in HR. We just rolled out this solution enterprise-wide last month. The next few slides contain example screenshots of our transfer form. All of our forms have the same look and feel. There's an attachment tab that includes any attachment we choose to include with the form. There's also a historical events tab that displays the workflow and each step of the way of the process, who approved the form, who posted the form, etc. And the header always displays the initiator, the date, and the form ID. So today, when we launched this particular form, the transfer form from Org Publisher, We select the position that we are transferring an employee into, and the position number and title appear on the form. Then we just simply add the effective date and personnel number we wish to transfer. You select a button called Get Details, and it will pre-populate the current and new position and employee data from SAP. The current column lists the position information of the employee we are transferring, and the new column is defaulted with all the new position information from SAP. Some of these fields are updatable by various groups as the form is progressing through the approval process. As you can see, there is a ton of information on this form. Most of our forms display or update fields from dozens of HR info types, which are essentially database tables, that contain personnel and or organizational type data in them. During the approval process, we leverage escalation and reminder notifications to politely nag the approver as needed. And then once posted to SAP, our form may trigger up to 12 email notifications to various groups who have follow-up tasks that need to be performed. Next, I wanted to share with you some of the lessons we learned while implementing this project. First, we highly recommend doing a proof of concept during the vendor selection process. This gave us the opportunity to submit some challenging business cases to the vendors, allowing them to respond with their solution. It was very beneficial for us to see some of our complex business requirements come to life in such a short period of time. Secondly, we did a phased approach to our implementation. We moved the forms to production as they were developed so a small group in HR could begin using them in parallel with the Lotus Notes database, their existing solution. Many of us know we can run into unique data scenarios in production that are really hard to duplicate with test data. Thus, this has proved to be very valuable to us. It gave us the opportunity to fix minor bugs before rolling this out enterprise-wide. We also wanted to mention to not underestimate the time it will take to gather business requirements and develop the technical blueprints. Even though we felt very prepared with our documentation, it was really helpful to use Arch's template for blueprinting. It is designed to step a programmer through the FLM process, enabling them to develop the form much more quickly. And finally, our largest gap was the lack of FE JavaScript and HTML experience on our technical project team. A few of us took a 2-day course to learn HTML and JavaScript. However, this is still our greatest challenge due to our lack of knowledge in this area. So should you choose to develop HTML forms internally, we highly recommend to have JavaScript, HTML, and ABAP developers on your project team to make it even more successful. FLM is considered an enterprise-wide solution here at FirstEnergy. We do have 2 additional non-HR projects scheduled to be implemented in the next year. The facilities project is also a Lotus Notes database that needs to be replaced. This project includes the creation of 2 FLM forms to support any move or work requests. It is currently in progress and will go live in October. Our second project is under the financial umbrella and will result in new FI master data forms. There will be 3 forms used to manage and document the necessary steps to request and establish new cost centers, work orders, and general ledger accounts. Then 3 additional forms will be developed to request changes to these FI master data objects. This project is scheduled to kick off this year and will go live early in 2015. So in summary, within the next year, we will have implemented FLM solutions in the SAP HR module, the SAP Finance module, and the SAP Plant Maintenance module to support our facilities department. This concludes my presentation. Now Darren will entertain any questions you guys may have.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question at this time, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A voice prompt on your phone line will indicate when your line is open to ask a question. Please state your name before posing your question. Again, please press star 1 to ask a question. We will pause for a moment to allow everyone to signal. As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Please ensure the mute function on your phone line is switched off to allow the signal to reach our systems.
Jody, once we wait for questions, I would like to thank you very much for a great presentation. And everyone on the phone, once in the cycle decision process, we have been asked very often to get customers' voice and get customer recommendations and references. Please use this opportunity once we have Jody on the phone to ask your questions. So we are very open to that.
Thank you. As a final reminder, if you would like to ask a question on today's call, press star 1 on your telephone keypad.
Chris, do you want to make kind of final remarks in case how people can reach out to us and how they can proceed on the solution?
Well, absolutely. So first of all, if there are any questions following this, I think, are we going to make this recording available, Ivanka?
Yes, we do.
So I think if they want to share this recording with their colleagues, then we can achieve that very easily. And also, if there are any follow-up questions, then myself and indeed Jody are very open to responding to those questions afterwards. But it's been a great project. It's been we kind of got going quite quickly last summer. We got a long way in a short period of time. But these forms that we're talking about are very, very complex forms. So I think the new joiner or the transfer, it's kind of more than 40 different info types get updated, and it's a mixture of OM and PA updates, and they're bringing lots and lots of different departments. So with FLM and SAP Interactive Forms by Adobe, it's a really great fit for simple forms, and we can just turn the handle on a simple form in a very small number of days. Really what we're talking about here are really very complex form processes, where it's not just the form template itself, but it's the entire business process around that, and all the interaction points with different departments, and lots of logic around who can see what and who can change what at each different part of the process. So it was a great challenge, and a great joy to work with the guys at FirstEnergy.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have any questions on the line?
As a quick reminder, if you wish to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone. We'll now take our first question. Please go ahead, caller. Your line is open.
Hi, my name is Akshay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Welcome, Akshay.
Okay, I just have a question on the interactive forms. So if we need to implement the interactive forms with SAP HR module for the global offices, let's say if you have like 8 countries would like to use this interactive forms with different fields, how complex is that?
So it really depends on the process in terms of translating the forms into multiple languages, or having different approval logic from between different bits of the organization. That's all fine. That's no problem. But it's very difficult to say just kind of how long it will take to develop a form process, because we've done new joiners at one company and another company, and it will take 2 weeks at one place and 2 months at the other place. So even the same type of process from one organization to another, the development time can be really quite different. But in terms of kind of multiple geographies, multiple languages, or the translation, localization, having different fields to support different HR organizations, for example, for different legal requirements in different countries, all that is perfectly possible. Effectively, we can either show and hide different fields depending upon who's looking at it, or the employee, or the position, etc. or indeed we could actually pluck out an entirely separate form template based on different parts of the business. So you've definitely got options. So is it achievable? Yes. Is it easy? Well, maybe. It depends. I'm not sure. Hopefully I've given you a good answer there.
Yeah, thank you. I have one more question. So once we have the interactive forms implemented, and based on the ongoing business situation, if you have more info types developed in SAP, and if you need to add those info types in the interactive forms, how is that being processed?
Okay, yeah. So that's a great question, because really the idea of using a form-based approach instead of, for example, an app-based approach is that the forms are easier to maintain in the future. They should be cheaper to develop and easier to maintain. And so effectively you have the field to add in two places. So that on the template itself, the field needs to be added. Well, again, that's just using the same template designer that you used in the first place. And then you add the business logic in case that field needs to be pre-populated or involved in the SAP update. And that depending upon where the update is, that might be, again, just a configuration table, or it might be configuration table and tweaking the existing ABAP user exit. So it's very, very simple. The advantage of the FLM approach is that if you've got already some of those forms work in progress, already in operation, moving around the organization, and then you introduce some changes to the form template, then we can manage the concurrent different versions. So say from the 1st of January the new form template is introduced, then all the forms that are still in process from December, November can continue their journey without being impacted by the new changes you've added. So you can choose, I should just make the changes for new forms only from a particular date, or should I also impact all the forms that are already in process? You've got that level of control.
Okay, thank you so much for the info. In addition to that, so when we have these interactive forms, and I see that we have an option to load the documents as an attachments, right? So where are these documents saved? Okay,
so they're saved inside the SAP database. It's inside the content management system, but that's just a free bit of the SAP database, effectively. So whenever you view the form, and with FLM you can view the forms from the back end through the SAP GUI, you can always see what attachments are stored in the form. Or indeed, at some places we have customers who want to store either the physical PDF at the end of the process or the attachments in an external document system, and that's also possible. We can push those attachments somewhere else if necessary. So, but by default, they're there in the SAP database in the content management server.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. No, pleasure.
Thank you. There are no further questions in the phone queue at this time.
So I guess we can wrap this up early, Ivanka?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, just want to ask everyone if there are no final questions anymore, so just we can, of course, close the session. We can share the recording. Darren, may you ask one more time? And if no questions, I'm happy to close the session earlier today.
Yes, as a final reminder, if you would like to ask a question, press *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, please ensure that the mute function on your phone is switched off to allow the signal to reach our systems. As there are no questions at this time, I will turn the call back over to the speakers for any additional or closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Darren, and thank you everyone for joining this session. We hope you found this session from interest. As Chris mentioned, if you have any questions, please reach out to me, reach out to Chris. we can forward all the questions also to Jody. We can work with your account executives also to continue the process. I would like to thank you, Jody, one more time for your participation, for your time, for sharing your experience with the solution. Chris, thank you for presenting the product, and thank you everyone for joining, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. That will conclude today's conference call. Thank you for your participation, ladies and gentlemen. You may now disconnect.